This is the holy grail that cosmologists have been chasing for some 25 years.
Meanwhile, the future of our own planet was the focus of the first ever Earth Summit. Global warming, industrial pollution, overpopulation. Everyone knows the villains.
Under the polluter pays principle, those who create the damage should pay for it. And of course, we in the industrialized countries are creating most of it. And therefore, we need to pay for most of it.
But the complexity of the problems and a lack of consensus on how to restore our environment left many frustrated. Frustration and heartbreak were evident in '92 in what's been called the single worst humanitarian crisis in the world, in Somalia. Thousands are dying every day of starvation. 2 million others are suffering from hunger, the victims of civil war and drought. Much of the aid that is sent is stolen from the docks before it ever reaches the neediest. As the new year approached, the UN approved a U.S.-led military force to protect shipments of food and medicine.
You actually have to secure every person that picks up their sack of rice and takes it home, and you almost have to stand beside that person and each watch them eat.
Civil war continued in what was once called Yugoslavia. For months, it focused on Sarajevo in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Thousands died.
This is a stupid war, a stupid and dirty war.
And more than 1 million others were driven from their homes. Neither the United States nor its European allies wanted to get involved militarily. By year's end, the United Nations voted to tighten economic sanctions to stem the flow of arms to all the former Yugoslav republics. The specter of a war long over still haunts the United States. In Hanoi, the Vietnamese opened up their war museum to allow American investigators to view and study relics and photos. These bits and pieces may be the key to solving the fate of more than 2,200 soldiers still listed as missing in action. In Germany, gangs of right-wing youths attacked an immigrant hostel in Rostock this summer. There were over 1,000 such incidents throughout the country this year, which coincided with the heavy influx of foreigners and a downturn in the German economy. When we come back, we'll look at the hottest fads and trends in '92. But first, a tribute to some of the great people we lost this year. Welcome back to A Year in Review, the images of '92. As we mentioned earlier, it was a year in which the economy took center stage, but it was big business that brutally battered the American workforce. What happened to General Motors was the driving force behind what happened to the nation.
General Motors, like all of corporate America, had to go to Jenny Craig to compete globally.
GM, the world's largest industrial manufacturer, announced layoffs of 74,000 people by 1995, a crushing blow to America's workforce. Also out of the driver's seat, the company's chairman and CEO, Robert Stempel. GM wasn't alone. IBM's Big Blue gave workers a black eye by eliminating 32,000 jobs. Ironically, by getting rid of their workers, some companies boosted their profits. 92 will be the year that American corporations like General Dynamics became lean and mean, making money for themselves and top executives. But the best paid executives were the ones on Wall Street. And believe it or not, on June 1st, the Dow Jones Industrial Average even hit a record high. This, the same year we celebrated the 5th anniversary of the '87 stock market crash. Still, there were no miracles on 34th Street. R.H. Macy's, one of the nation's best-known retailers, threw in the towel and filed for bankruptcy protection. And TWA had its wings clipped as record losses forced it to go Chapter 11. But the story that told just how weak the real estate market had become was the bankruptcy announcement of Olympia and York. They control the largest array of commercial real estate in the world. Still, like Macy's and TWA, they remained in business.
This is not the end of O&Y. This is a restructuring.
Even Euro Disney may have to go back to the drawing board. The $4 billion theme park opened in France in '92, but the reviews and attendance have been dismal. Despite the news, Mickey has managed to keep a smile on his face. The world of business was even evident in 1992's Fads and Trends, where the year's big hit was trying to stay healthy and fit. Americans were hitting the juice as the juice man craze squeezed millions of dollars from fruits and vegetables. Drinking, not eating 15 pounds of veggies a day, was the way to make your day. The thigh, not the sky, was the limit as Suzanne Summers cashed in on '92's body-beautifying bonanza, the Thigh Master. And funk and hip-hop aerobics put a new lightness in the step of the fitness craze. But it was aerobic boxing that gave '92 the 1-2 punch as women tried to win the fight against Flab. Meanwhile, a powerful new style in fashion took its cues from the world of S&M. Bondage-style clothing came out of the closet when designers whipped out their new lines. The 70s entered the 90s with bell-bottoms and platform shoes. X also marked the spot in style as Malcolm X duds were seen mile for mile. Another fashion statement in '92, flashes of skin and the tattoo. The bunk-bedded, white-breaded Brady Bunch was the comeback fad of the year on TV. But if reaching out and touching or seeing someone was more your speed, you can now get the video phone from AT&T. When Images 92 returns, we'll take a look at the year in sports. But first, we have something to celebrate. 1992's biggest anniversaries. After all, it was 500 years ago, in 1492, that Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Russia's Bolshevik Revolution took place 75 years ago. 50 years ago, Humphrey Bogart began a beautiful friendship in the movie Casablanca.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Marilyn Monroe, America's best-loved bombshell, died 30 years ago. That same year, the world came closer to nuclear war than ever before when the Cuban Missile Crisis escalated.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
The Watergate break-in, an event that took place 20 years ago, is one Richard Nixon would rather forget. And 15 years ago, grief-stricken fans mourned the death of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. But his songs will live on forever.